Welcome to Real Sense Now, where we delve deep into the world of real estate, bringing you the insights and discussions that matter on a really powerful radio show and podcast where we uncover the untold stories and successes in our world of real estate and, of course, entrepreneurship as well, too. On Real Sense Now, we serve as your guide to all things real estate. I'm your host, Dawood Bedrosian, and today we have a special guest joining us, Rose Kemp, a leading realtor and advocate for home ownership rights in Central Florida. Rose is also the first Hispanic woman to serve as president on the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association in over 103 years. So big accomplishment to Rose for that one.
Thank you.
You've also been a dear friend of mine for, I think, a decade and a half. So Rose,
don't age us. Don't age us.
Don't age us. Huh? Welcome to the show, Rose.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So today we'll be discussing the recent settlement announced by the National Association of Realtors, which has been probably the hottest topic in the news over the last 2 weeks, I would say. Everywhere you go, every channel you turn on, every podcast, every little YouTube video, Instagram, there's someone talking about it. So what I'm here to do is discuss the implications for how this is going to affect the real estate industry. Brokers and agents alike have their own questions about what comes next for their businesses, while at the same time trying to answer a lot of the consumers' inquiries. I think a lot of sellers are confused. I think a lot of buyers are confused, and nobody really knows how to kind of maneuver through this. So I brought you in here because we want to separate a lot of the fact from fiction and this misinformation that has been fed to us that unfortunately our clients and our colleagues are also trying to decipher right now. So before we start, I want to clear the air. There's no doubt that this litigation has caused considerable uncertainty in the industry, that we've already been dealing with two other challenging factors, which is the effects of low inventory during COVID, and of course, increasing interest rates as well too, which has really kind of like shifted our real estate market, especially in 2023 going into 2024. But before we dive into that, Rose, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your work in the real estate sector?
Sure. Yes. So I've been a realtor for the last 24 years here in Central Florida. And so I am out there on the field, boots on the ground. And a lot of times people believe, when you're president of the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association, that's your job. No, my job is a realtor. That is my advocacy. That is my volunteerism journey. And that's why I'm president through my advocacy. But, I've always been very passionate of sharing with consumers the value of a realtor, why to work with a professional. And in my journey, what's really fascinating is educating my own realtor family of their own value.
Correct.
We're not just out there selling houses. We do so much more. You know that. We help guide people through the transaction to realize their real estate goals. We also are advocates for home ownership rights. And then we help people guide them through so many different changes. You know that. Like sometimes people are growing their family. Sometimes their family shrinks. Sometimes it's investments. But whatever it is, like we are so involved in our consumers, our customers become family to us. So we're a lot more, definitely a lot more than just selling houses. And you're probably a generational realtor as I am. One of the things that I like to share with people is that realtors have been around for 115 years. NAR has been around for 115 years. And at the end of the day, real estate, no matter what happens, no matter what changes we go through, it is a relationship-based business and it will always remain relationship-based.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it. So,
the fact of the matter is you actually don't need representation as a buyer or seller to conduct a real estate transaction.
correct.
You could do it on your own if you wanted.
Correct.
I could definitely assure you and advise you not to do that, as I'm sure you would as well too.
Absolutely.
But I want to tell you that I'm quite impressed by your dedication to the profession, to the advocacy of sustainable home ownership. It's truly commendable. I've known you for a long time, but I really want to turn our attention to these recent developments because I think we should navigate and kind of clear the air as to what's really going on.
Correct.
Right? So the recent settlement announced by the National Association of Realtors sparked a lot of discussion within our industry. Can you shed some light on some of the key aspects of the settlement and what it actually means for real estate professionals and the industry on the whole?
My favorite phrase in this current era that we are in is business as usual. So at the end of the day, we're still realtors representing both the buyer and the seller in transactions, provided that that buyer or seller want the professional to assist them. And as you know, we assist people in the largest transaction, their largest investment potentially, right?
In their lifetime, yeah.
Absolutely. And so there's so much that goes on behind the scenes when we're working with transactions, and it's really fascinating. We've gone through for sale by owner eras.
Correct.
And typically a for sale by owner ends up hiring a realtor to assist them.
Isn't that ironic?
It's pretty amazing, but it is what it is. If it was so simple, if the transaction were that simple, or it would be shallow, right? Like not that important, then they wouldn't need us. But there's so much that goes on, and you know that. And one of the interesting things about what's happening right now is we have to share our value proposition more than ever. Now, for some of us, that's not very difficult because we've always understood our value and we've always shared our value. For others, it may not be something that they had done in the past. I've also heard many realtors say, there's so many things that I would keep away from a buyer or seller during the transaction because I didn't want to give them more stress than they were going through. Now it's a little bit different. Now it's actually about sharing exactly what we're doing throughout that transaction day to day. And that's one of the big differences is making sure that we show our value proposition.
What I want to do in this next section of this conversation is actually like demystify these misconceptions, these headlines that have really guided buyers and sellers down a rabbit hole that is just not true.
Correct. A lot of confusion.
Yeah. So what we know for certain and what we actually know for a fact that's false is that the National Association of Realtors does not set commissions.
No.
They've never set commissions because commissions or compensation were always, long before the settlement, been something that has been negotiated with your buyer, with your seller.
Correct. I mean, at least in our experience here in the state of Florida, yes. I can't speak for other states. I can't speak for other realtors, but here our practices in Florida have always been that.
And as a student of economics and just being, a part of this real estate industry for close to, it seems like 20 years now, the housing prices are literally dictated by market forces, which is beyond a real estate agent or a member's control in terms of affecting it. Right. And we've seen, prices go up and we've seen prices go down and we've seen our real estate industry change since I first knew you, which was around 2008 when the market crashed. And there was a lot of practices that were done then that no longer seem to exist anymore. Absolutely. Whether it was defective drywall disclosures or, delving into purchases that involved short sales or foreclosures for that matter. Our industries will constantly change and will evolve. And home ownership is probably the pillar of the American dream and a great way to create wealth. Absolutely. So, Rose, the media coverage surrounding this settlement has been rife with misconception. Can you help us separate fact from fiction and clarify some of these key points so that our audiences can really understand what's going on?
To the consumer, right? So for the consumer, it's important that they understand that their professional, their realtor is going to guide them. Okay. For us as realtors, we will just evolve with new business practices as those new business practices come out. At this time, right now, it is business as usual. Once there's changes and new business practices, let's just say that the purchase agreement gets updated. How many times do we not update those purchase agreements?
Almost annually.
Exactly.
Almost annually.
And do you know why?
Because of various lawsuits or changes in what's happening in our economy and so on and so forth.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this has made headlines and it's out there because it was a national story. But at the end of the day, us as realtors, we continue to do what we've always done, which is we evolve, we learn the new business practices. If there's changes with our agreements, we utilize those. If there's new addendums, at this point, there's probably going to be updates. I know I can tell you for certain that FR, Florida Realtors, along with the National Association of Realtors, there's a lot of discussions about buyer brokerage agreements, new buyer brokerage agreements that show more transparency, that really indicate what type of relationship you have with them and what you're going to do with your consumer, right? And so the consumer at the end of the day is going to have a very clear understanding of what their realtor, what their representative is doing for them. But at the end of the day, the business that we do is the same, right? So it's just the difference is now we'll have new documentation. We'll have new transparency. We'll have new ways of conducting our business. But that is not any different than it has been since realtors exist.
So you don't feel that there would be a direct impact on the actual day-to-day operations of real estate professionals, particularly in terms of the business practices, or better yet, the way that they interact with their clients? Or do you?
No, actually, I don't. I mean, the way we conduct ourselves and the way we represent our buyers and our sellers will not change. We're professionals. What we'll do is we'll educate them, as we always have, on the process. We've always done that. And that's the misconception out there. There's misconception that, buyers won't have representation.
It's not true.
Sellers won't need buyer's agents. Let's be real. We do a lot to expose a property as a listing agent, right? One of the reasons for sell-by owners end up listing with a realtor is because you can either have a pool of the drive-bys that come around. Let's just say you have 20 drive-bys, or you can go and get listed by a realtor and have a global exposure, right? Correct. And buyers, they need that representation. Now, we are going to evolve. Obviously, we understand that there's new business practices that are coming. But as those come out, we will be better educated and we will understand how to guide our consumers. So again, that doesn't change. What we do day to day doesn't change. What will change is how we do it.
I love it. It's so well said, by the way. So one aspect of this whole lawsuit, settlement, whatever you want to call it, is the preservation of cooperative compensation as an option for consumers. How do you foresee this affecting the real estate market?
So again, it's going to be a new business practice. Compensation will exist. How will it exist? How that will look like could vary. If you follow Florida Realtors guidance and you follow the guidance of NAR, and the consumers can also go onto the site and understand what the value proposition is and how we're going to conduct business. But at the end of the day, compensation will exist. It's just how will that exist, right?
And they can find this information on floridarealtors.org, right?
The Florida Realtors website, which is our state association, our local association at the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association, we're also sharing that information. NAR has that information. So whether you're a consumer or you're a realtor, that's where you want to get the facts. Don't get the facts from what you're hearing out there. There's a lot of people making a lot of talk and a lot of noise that do not know what they're talking about.
I love it.
So follow what we're sharing at the association levels, and you will have the facts. And that's I cannot stress that enough.
And your buyers and sellers will appreciate you. They will respect your guidance, and they'll be directed by your professionalism in order to get the highest price for the home that they're looking to sell, or the best value for the home that they're looking to buy.
Yes.
Let's break this up into two parts. So I want to talk about this engagement in the discussion of compensation. The new word that has replaced commission here.
Correct.
With regards to how would you address this being a listing agent and then a buyer's agent? Who's responsible to pay for what, and how do we navigate through this?
So this is how you're going to navigate through it. What we don't want to do is get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
What we want to do is we want to follow the guidance that will be coming out. Right now, it's business as usual. We will be guided. The consumers will get guidance from us. If the consumer wants to double check that their professional is giving them accurate information, all they have to do is also go to Orlando Regional REALTOR Association site, go to the NAR site, go to the Florida Realtor site, so that you can fact find what your professional's telling you. So we will have guidance. And when those changes come and occur, we will know, because we will be told this is how we're going to do new business. But is that any different
than what we're doing
already?
Dawood?
There's no difference. And that's the interesting thing. Now, also I understand that another fact, NAR is also seeking to find ways to ensure that the buyers, especially your first time home buyers, have representation. And how that's going to look like, we don't know right now, but they're working on it. Lenders will also have to jump on board.
I love it.
So I can genuinely tell you that that's also being worked on. So between new buyer brokerage agreements, potentially updated listing agreements, updated purchase agreements, that's all going to come out. And as it comes out, you, the professional, the expert, will have that information.
And we'll be able to
share
guide. Yeah, exactly. You've blessed us with a lot of great information for this segment, but unfortunately, this is all that we have time for right now. You're listening to Dawood Bedrosian right here on Real Sense Now. If you have a real estate question, you know what to do. Shoot me a message on realsensenow.com or check me out on any one of my social media platforms. That's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, just to name a few, by just simply typing in my name, Dawood Bedrosian. And remember, no matter if the real estate market trends upwardly or trends downwardly, real estate always trends upwardly over time, and real estate is one of the sure ways for you to create generational wealth for you and your family. Stay tuned after the break. We're going to have a lot more to share with Rose Kemp, president of the NAR Realtor Association in our city, beautiful. We're back. It's your host, Dawood Bedrosian, right here on Real Sense Now. We've been uncovering all of these changes that we've been hearing about in the headlines with regards to the National Association settlement, this lawsuit that's been going on. Buyers are confused, sellers are confused, and a lot of the agents are trying to do their utmost best to navigate through this. But of course, as always, I'm always here to provide you with the cheat code to your success. And what other better cheat code do I have than the president of the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association, Miss Rose Kemp, an old friend of mine. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. I really want to share something with you, which is this is a really exciting market to be in. 2024 is the best market we have seen since the lockdown.
Why?
Well, when the lockdown occurred, we had 6 months worth of inventory. It was a stable, healthy market. And then it got COVIDified, I'm going to call it. And when the lockdown happened, as you know, our inventory dropped. Then we had the historic interest rates. And what did that do? People bought up all the inventory out there. So we were down to 2 months of inventory for a long time. And in the past, I want to say 4 months, 5 months, we've seen an upward trend in inventory. That is great news for buyers.
Absolutely.
Because they now have options. They can secure a home. How many buyers did not stay on the sideline because they couldn't find a home? Okay. And then we also had the interest rates that started dropping just a tiny bit, but every reduction is a great reduction. And aside from that, I know that we're also looking at potentially having an incentivized market for first-time home buyers and sellers that are looking to sell to a first-time home buyer.
Tell me more about that.
So it's it's proposed. It hasn't passed yet, but it would be a tax incentive, and it would offer the opportunity to the first-time home buyer to receive a tax incentive, a first year of $5,000, second year another $5,000 for a total of $10,000. You know that is great because first-time home buyers can use any help at all. And so that would help them with their payments. It might help them with whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, that's actually a great thing. The other incentive that I understand may be happening, and I don't know the details on that at this time, but I do understand potentially there will be an incentive as well for the seller that will sell to a first-time home buyer as well.
Wow.
Yes.
So you've touched on a lot of things, and the common theme or the thread throughout this whole conversation is, as we know it, it's business as usual.
Correct.
And what we know is that there's going to be some new business practices. I love that you touched on buyers because we've obviously been prepping for this, sitting in a lot of Zooms, a lot of educational classes, so that we're better able to navigate and be guided through this.
Correct.
But when it comes to representing a buyer, I think a lot of the questions that a lot of real estate professionals have had is, if these poor first-time home buyers can barely afford to get into a property in an unaffordable market, because we have a little bit of an affordability crisis because the prices have gone up drastically in the last few years.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of the people that purchased prior to COVID probably saw appreciations of well over 30% over the last few years.
Right.
And it's made it a lot more challenging for people who are trying to get a start and buy a starter home to be able to do that. Obviously, come up with a down payment, closing costs, and this proposed idea of compensating your own agent as well too. would you agree that it would make it a little bit more challenging for buyers, or is there a misconception that we need to dispel here?
Absolutely. I mean, I have a new word I like to use, and it's obtainable housing. So, as realtors, those of us that are out there in the trenches advocating, we are always looking for ways of making sure that we have obtainable housing, right? Especially for the first-time home buyer. Compensation, again, we will see new business practices, but we're absolutely going to see compensation. It's just going to look different than it looked before. That's the only difference. And of course, we'll probably see lenders making certain changes too. Can concessions be used for compensation? And those are the kind of things that are going to come. Those answers will come to us. Right now, we don't have that yet. Right now continues to be business as it's been done in the past. But as FR and NAR navigate through this, they will guide us as to how that's going to look. The buyers will have a representative if they seek to have one, right? And the compensation will occur. What we don't know is how that's going to occur. Happen, yeah. And it may look different ways. It may be, so it used to look one way.
Yeah.
Now it may be 3 different ways, right? And again, it could be concessions. It can be compensation. It could be concessions being used for the compensation. The buyer's still going to seek representation because, we know that a transaction there's a lot to navigate through. It's a scary process. There's a lot to it. And that's where the value proposition comes in, right?
What is it? 160 touch points that
absolutely
buyer
yes, that the realtor provides, right?
Provides,
so our value proposition that's what NAR is providing us. We're also a resource. We guide people through these transactions with our vendors, right? We are a walking resource.
Correct.
How many people do you not relocate, for instance? And when they get here, they need everything under the sun. We realtors are the turning wheels of the economy.
It's so true.
When we sell a home, we create multiple jobs.
And our economy is heavily based on real estate as well,
absolutely.
too. And it really affects our overall economy when we start to see shifts like this happen.
Correct.
And I love the point that you said that we are experiencing a shift in the market, because I'm definitely seeing it. I'm seeing more and more buyers pop out of the woodwork. We're seeing a lot of, for example, South American buyers that are coming out, obviously wanting to park their money in safer havens in a more stable economy than a lot of other countries that may have some political instability, economic instability, or whatever the case may be. And Orlando, if the mouse can make it, I think we all can over here too.
Absolutely.
And Mickey Mouse is not going anywhere anytime soon.
And this is Orlando, Florida. So when you look at the rest of the nation, when we talk real estate and you look at the rest of the nation, we are so unique in Orlando because we have such a strong global market. And we're more than just Mickey Mouse, right? We now have the Creative Village here in downtown. Correct. We have Neo City happening over in the Osceola County area. We have the Medical City happening in the Lake Nona area. There's so much job creation and so much opportunity. We've never seen so many graduates from UCF deciding to stay here. Why? Because there's so much opportunity here. But also we're the state of Florida. People have always wanted to live here. They've always wanted the second home. They've always loved the weather. They always loved the parks, right? There's all these reasons why people move here. Post-COVID, new reasons. Why? People can now work from home remotely and they want to get out of the cold weather. They also think we didn't wear masks, which we know we did, but but at the end of the day, Orlando, Florida is just such a beautiful place, and people are coming here again, not just for the investment opportunities, but they love Orlando. We're so completely different than the rest of the nation, which makes our market different than any other market.
Yeah, you're right. It is an insulated market. And I think it's probably one of the most affordable investment cities in Florida.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, naturally want to gravitate to Naples or Miami or Fort Lauderdale. But the truth of the matter is you're going to be paying a lot more for the same type of house that you would over here.
We're actually seeing a lot of South Florida Floridians coming to the Central Florida, correct, Orlando region. I just met actually somebody 3 days ago. I was in a community over in Sanford. They had just came from South Florida. So we're seeing a lot of people taking their, and one of the reasons that they're relocating here is weather patterns, insurance costs.
Oh, but
Cost of housing.
let's not talk about weather patterns. I was in Miami last week. I literally had to take my shoes off and walk across Miami Beach
Oh boy.
barefoot because there was flooding everywhere.
Oh no.
So definitely water rising in
Yeah.
South Florida.
And it's more expensive to own a home when you have those type of factors going on. But yes, we are affordable considering other cities across the nation. When people look at our property taxes here, they can't believe it. You know, we have so many people here from New York.
Approximately 1.6%
Californians moving.
pretty much of purchase price is a good way to kind of rule of thumb it.
So where it becomes difficult and a hardship really truly is for our locals, because we've seen obviously the rise, but when you compare us to the rest of the nation, we're actually a great place to live, and that's why people are coming here.
So I would say, you know, the takeaways here is you're in a really great market. It's a lot more affordable than a lot of other markets. You can definitely get a lot more house, a lot more land for what you can get in your purchase here. I think Orlando is definitely a safe and growing place.
Absolutely. And there's housing for everybody.
Correct.
Think about it. A lot of times people think we're cookie cutter or we're all Disney, right? And we're not. There's something for everybody here. The lifestyles, right? The different type of housing depending on your lifestyle. You know, we've got some areas that might feel a little bit more rural, more for somebody who's maybe a little more slower paced. You've got great family communities. Then you have the live, play, and work communities, which we've seen a lot of those pop up. And then you have your downtown area. So there is something for everybody.
And one more thing that I'm really enjoying over the last 2 years, I would say year and a half, 2 years, is I'd like to think of myself as a connoisseur of fine things, whether it's real estate or some of life's nicer things as well too. I love restaurants. I love going out and having a good time, just like you.
Yeah.
That's why we always connect at some of these really cool places in Orlando. And ever since this whole Michelin rating started to come about, you've started to see a lot of really great concepts that have come from different parts of the country, from New York, moving down here, from Chicago, from other places. And there's been a lot of great new properties and resorts and restaurants and rooftops that are coming that is really changing the cultural dynamic of what the city has to offer as well too.
I completely agree with you. I just had this conversation with somebody. As the population grows and we continue to grow, because I know in the 27 years that I've lived here, it's not stopped growing, and we don't see that happening. I work closely with the Orlando Economic Partnership in their numbers and what's happening. And the beautiful thing about the population growing is exactly what you just said. Think about cuisine, performing arts.
Correct.
I mean, there's so many exciting things happening with growth. And for those that don't like growth, it's kind of a shame, because with growth, with population growth, we see all those great things that we now get to enjoy that we didn't have in the past. You know, that's why it's the city beautiful.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm kind of hoping for is that we like rush into the future so that we can like fly our cars above I-4 and not get stuck in that traffic.
I know, like the Jetsons, right? Everything from the cartoon, the Jetsons, it feels like we're living in, except the little bubble cars that
exactly.
I'm in for that. Let me tell you. I know there's things in the works though. I understand.
Well, you better share some of those secrets. If you don't want to share it live, you can tell me on the break for sure.
I'll tell you right now. Follow Orlando Economic Partnership and you'll learn a lot about that exciting stuff that's happening here in Orlando.
So this is why this show is incredible, because I get to bring a lot of incredible guests on that have a wealth of information that really help you guide to make better decisions in your investments, in the way that you create generational wealth for your family, your loved ones. The market is changing, but for the better. We're seeing interest rates going down. We are seeing the market balance from a seller's market to becoming a buyer's market now. Buyers have more options as well too, and sellers have to work with the buyers in order to make those sale and purchases occur as well too. I love the fact that even though we're going through these changes, the circumstances that are surrounding our real estate market is actually becoming more and more favorable and clearer as we navigate through this.
Yes, you know, with change comes opportunity. And that's all this is. This is just a shifting change that's going to bring so much more opportunity. But the beautiful thing is we are in a more stable, healthy market. Correct. And that's what we all want, right? We want our sellers to be able to get their highest and best in a healthy market. We want our buyers to be able to find a home and be able to negotiate where it works for them, right? So I think this is an exciting market. I know I'm excited because ever since that lockdown, it's just been shift after shift after shift, factors we cannot control. And right now, we can control the factors. we're actually navigating through the changes versus something just thrown at us that we don't know what to do with,
Exactly.
like COVID did, right?
But I think what's also interesting is how we're seeing the unraveling of technology actually helping to evolve both the role of a professional real estate agent and the information that now has become accessible not only to local or people domestically but internationally as well too.
Yeah.
Like you said, to have that kind of professional representation allows you to create a abundance of where your homes are advertised, as well as where buyers can come to seek great investment opportunities, whether it's a primary residence or even a second home or an investment property.
Absolutely.
Like many of the Airbnbs that we have closer to the Disney area as well too. So I think the advent of technology has really helped us, and I think it will start to change even better amidst all of these changes that we've been talking about. What are some of the changes that you're welcoming with this change, with this advent of technology that we're experiencing now?
Oh, I love it. Artificial intelligence, right? That's the big talk everywhere. I can tell you that artificial intelligence will not replace realtors. What will replace a realtor or anybody at the end of the day is those that understand how to use it, right? Knowledge is power. With technology, it's great to see that the consumer they're going to listen to their realtor, their professional, but they can go and do their fact finding on their own. I welcome that. I think that's awesome. Knowledge is power, but at the end of the day, teamwork makes the dream work.
I love it.
You know?
Rose, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, I'm very accessible. You can look me up, follow my social medias. My number, you want my number? What do you want?
Give it all.
Listen, Rose Kemp, just Google me. I am not a secret agent. I am a realtor that's out there in the public eye.
And the president of our association.
I am the president of Orlando Regional REALTOR Association. I couldn't be more proud because I know what we do, and I've always known our value, which is why I love to give back, not just to our community, but to our realtor community. We are the turning wheels of economic growth.
I love it.
So we're out there in the trenches. We help businesses grow. We are a resource. We bring jobs to the market. We just do so much. And that's why I'm the president.
I love it.
Quite honestly, because I love this city. I love what real estate has given to me. I know what it means to people. And it's just awesome. Love what you do. Never work a day.
I love it.
So
And
Rose
this
Kemp,
is why
easy to find.
and this is why you're a connector and you're a maven. And on that note, we have to wind down this segment until we come back in our next segment, where I'm going to get you to, spit more information, share more facts, tell us more secrets about how we can navigate through all of these changes and how we can prosper and create generational wealth for our families and loved ones through real estate. It's your host, Dawood Bedrosian. You're tuning into Real Sense Now. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you after the break. And we're back. Final segment right here on Real Sense Now. We're unraveling the mysteries of the real estate world as we navigate through uncharted territories, trying to decipher and understand where we're going with this national lawsuit that we've been hearing about, and how to better guide you as the buyer, the seller in the current market that we're in, so that you actually have the facts, not fiction, on how to navigate through these trying times, uncertain times. I'm not quite sure what the word is. All I know is it's business as usual. In our last segment, we explored the implications of the lawsuit for sellers. I really want to shift our focus now to a buyer's perspective, and more importantly, how to add value as a professional to our buyers in the market today. So buckle up, because we have some insightful and invaluable insights from Rose Kemp.
Thank you.
Rose, question for you. How would you articulate the value of your services to both your buyer, more importantly, and seller in the market where commissions or compensation is obviously subject to negotiation now?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's representation. It's what we've always done, right? And if you haven't been explaining to your consumers exactly what you do and why working with you is so important in the transaction, most people's largest transaction they will ever make, largest investment they will ever make. As you know, there's a lot of steps to a transaction, multiple steps. And a lot of times, as a realtor, we are kind of hesitant to go into everything that goes on behind the scenes when we're in a transaction, where now we don't want to do that. Now we want to make sure that our consumers, whether they're a buyer or seller, understand what we do for them. So the value proposition, the buyer should be looking for the value proposition from their agent, right? So we have experience, we have knowledge, we understand negotiations, we have the resources, and that's why you want to work with a realtor. You know, most consumers, they only do a few transactions in their lifetime, where we're doing, you know, we've done multiple transactions for over 20 years. The realtor's getting educated. That's why we have the association, so we don't have the wild, wild west out there. That's why associations exist, so we can educate our realtors, so we provide them the tools that they need to better help the consumer. That's why the consumer shouldn't do it on their own. There's a lot of steps to a transaction, and it's high risk not to have a professional right there with you. It could cost you so much more if you don't work with a representative. Hence, why for sell by owners, I mean, if they didn't need if sellers didn't need a realtor, everybody would just be a for sale by owner, right? If buyers didn't have a realtor, you probably have a lot of losses out there, not the best investments. Exactly. So that's why the association matters so much. That's why realtors right now more than ever need to make sure that they're paying attention and listening to what NAR, FR, and here locally what the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association is providing them, is educating them on. Just like any other era that we've been in real estate, that's what it's all about. Navigating, understanding, learning. And those that don't, they end up leaving the industry, right?
And
they
we've
end up
seen a
leaving the
big
profession.
shift of, what is it, over 70,000 agents that left the National Association of Realtors last year or something like that?
So I don't have that number,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to go there, but I can tell you that at Orlando Regional REALTOR Association, we're really not seeing a shift like that. So
But I think we have a really great market. And I think, you know, the Orlando, the Miami market, the Tampa market have really kind of set a stage all on its own compared to many other markets in the country as well too. And you know what? We'll always be what we are. People are always going to want to come and visit us. We'll always be the Sunshine State. We're the only state with the most coastal mileage than any other state. And it's, for many people, the best holiday, the best opportunity to bring your family here for a vacation.
Listen, there is no better city, no better region than the Orlando area to live in the nation. We are right now one of the number one places nationally that people are investing in, that people want to live here, whether it's a second home or an Airbnb, right, for their vacations, investment in general. At the end of the day, this is the place where people come to retire. This is the place that everybody wants to be. That's why our market is so global and so amazing. And I am a believer. I live here and I love Orlando, Florida. And I come from California. I come from Los Angeles, California. Everybody wants to know, why did you move to Orlando? Orlando's amazing. There's so much growth. It's such a great place to live. There's so many amazing people. I love culture and I love meeting people from all over the world.
And there's people from all over the world.
This is a melting pot. It truly is. So there is no better place to buy or sell or live in or invest in than Orlando, Florida. I don't sell houses anymore, Dawood. I sell Orlando. That's what we do. We sell Orlando. We sell the American dream here in Orlando, Florida.
It's funny you say that because people ask me, what do I do? And they're like, oh, so you're a real estate agent, you're a realtor. And I'm like, actually, I'm not. I just happen to solve a lot of people's problems in the area of real estate. Because it's all about relationships. And it's so funny because we've been talking about, adding value to your buyers, making sure that they're well represented, well educated. Mm-hmm. But this is the beauty about technology today. Yes. I want to shift gears and I want to talk about something that's really important to not only enhance a buyer and a seller's understanding, education, and knowledge of a specific area of real estate, but how a real estate professional can actually enhance their brand by becoming an educator. You see, digital marketing for me is essential for reaching broader audiences and staying top of mind for many potential clients, literally from our local market to halfway around the world. Mm-hmm. There's people that are watching my content, the radio show, the podcast, the little snippets on all of my social media platforms.
So many forms of communication.
Yeah, exactly. And I use these various channels, these social media outlets and email marketing to enhance my presence online. That to me is the value that you add to the buyer, because in essence, I've seen you leverage your digital platforms like YouTube for your real estate business. How do you approach producing engaging content in an audience for your audience in a light of all of these changes?
So it's quite fascinating for me because I come from the advocacy aspect, communications with the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association. And as I gave back, I learn, right? As I give, I learn and I grow. We have evolved in the way we communicate. Gosh, 24 years ago, there was no social media. What an incredible
was there internet
platform.
Then too? I don't think there was any internet.
Yes, there was internet. Stop it. Yes, there was. But yeah, we've evolved.
Maybe a little hamster in the wheel in the computer or something.
There you go. For the realtors that are listening that might not understand how to create content, the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association creates market content. We have reports that come out weekly and reports that come out monthly,
which buyers and sellers should also tap into and read. Absolutely. Because that Market Pulse report that comes out every month is just so valuable to understand really what's happening in our market. We actually have
every Monday we have what's called the Monday quarterback. Follow our social media pages, right? You can follow mine, follow yours, right? Follow the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association's Instagram page, their LinkedIn page, the Facebook page. Every Monday is the Monday quarterback. As a consumer, you want to be educated. You don't just want to rely on your realtor for that information. If you know you're going into the market and you've now sat down and strategized with your professional as to what you're going to be doing, it's important that you understand what the market is doing. So that Monday quarterback is every Monday. It comes out. It's like literally 30 seconds, and it gives you exactly what's going on in the market at the moment, right? Also monthly, after the 15th of every month, you will get the report of the previous month. So you can kind of gauge as to what's happening in the market. That is so important, not just for the realtors, but also for the consumer. And realtors can share that information. So how do I handle my social media and whatnot, content? What's going on in the moment? What's interesting to me is something I want to share because that's going to be interesting to my audience.
And it's the way that you communicate that information.
Be genuine.
Yeah, that communication to your audience so that they can be better informed and actually give you a better opportunity to brand yourself in order for a lot of the buyers and sellers to be able to work.
You know what else we do? We support local business.
I love it.
Right? We brag about the places we love and the places we go. We support local business. So whatever I'm interested in, I share it. That's what I do. Sharing is caring.
That concludes today's episode of Real Sense Now. We hope you found our discussions informative and insightful. Be sure to tune us every Saturday from 11 to 12 live on Florida Man Radio. And with the sage advice from my friend Rose Kemp, I really want to thank you for coming on, being a guest on the show. And of course, remember to tune in next week for more invaluable insights into the world of real estate. Until then, stay informed and empowered. This is your host, Dawood Bedrosian, signing off right here, Real Sense Now.